Surprises when the CBK announced a very aggressive rate hike yesterday, 550 basis points, cash reserve position up to 5.5%. What do you make of this first and foremost? It's definitely having a positive impact on a Kenyan shilling that's looking a little bit stronger than we've seen it.
Yes, the move will definitely strengthen the currency, and in the long run, medium to long run, wrestle up inflation. It did come at us as a surprise. Most estimates were around 100 to 200 basis points, and we didn't think they would touch the cash reserve ratio. But also with them trying to get money from the IMF and World Bank, it was rather in order, because they had to start showing that they're actually implementing what they had agreed on initially when this facility was opened. But the only problem that we have now is, as much as it will sort out the shilling currently and the rest of inflation in the long term, the impact on real interest rates is going to impact the output of the economy generally in the short to medium term. So we will see effects on GDP.
All right, now the decision, many people are saying, comes on the back of the IMF's extended credit facility, and there is a sense that the CBK simply done what the IMF has instructed, recommended that they do, which is to tighten monetary policy. So is it fair to say that from here on, what we're likely to see is going to be on the basis of an IMF recommendation, an IMF program?
Yeah, basically, once you agree a financing window with the IMF and the World Bank, and they tell you, for you to get this financing, 1, 2, 3, 4 measures have to come in place. Because you find for the IMF and the World Bank that they're not in the business of just dishing out funds. That their job really is to influence policy for long-term projects and stuff like that. So when they give out their funding, they give it with conditions. So the next policy that we'll see the next month, the next 2, 3 months, until we reach a level that they are satisfied, will be basically directed by the IMF and the World Bank.
All right, now on the back of this MPC decision, we've seen activity on the bond market slide as opposed to pick up. Today, 160 million shillings transacted versus 1.4 billion yesterday. What do you make of that?
Okay, now, basically, when rates are going to go up, you find no one wants to take the first move. You want to first see where are they actually going to go. Because if you move in now and rates move up further, then already you're in a capital loss position on your bond. As much as you're earning a high coupon, your paper you're holding the value in terms for reporting purposes and stuff like that, you have to indicate the loss if you're not holding it to maturity. So it's now a matter of timing. Do we enter now? Do you think they'll still raise the rate maybe by another 100, 200 basis points before the end of the year? So the right time to enter is what will affect the bond market in the short term.
Let's move to the equity side of the market, Reginald. Obviously, the market is low and stocks are fairly cheap. It hasn't really excited investors to come into the market, but we are seeing lots of corporate action. Kenyan Airways, for instance, much talked about rights issue, and they're already suggesting that they may offer those shares at a discounted 22%. What do you make of that?
In terms of the equities market, yes, we've been in a mini recovery bull run, basically. But technically looking at it in terms of even volumes and technical indicators, I don't think it will last more than the next week or so. Then we'll go back into a general bearish trend as we move on. When you have interest rates so high, really, it's more lucrative to be in the money markets than into the equities. KQ discounting their shares is just a way of making sure that the rights issue is successful by waggling the carrot in front of the investor. Are we able to offer them a discount so that they come in at a discount? The question is, will they ever recover from the discount? So they might actually be shooting themselves in the foot in the long run. Because as the shilling starts to strengthen, we also expect that to have an impact on their earnings.
Another company that's also talking about a rights issue is Commercial Bank of Kenya. Now, obviously, we know that they're quite active on the SME lending side of the market, so they're wanting to grow. What do you make of them?
Commercial Bank of Africa, yes, they need to look for funds. Funds have become a bit expensive. So right now issuing rights issues is kind of now a cheaper way of raising funds than doing going for a bond or a commercial paper or something of that nature, or borrowing from the central bank. So in essence, it will make sense for them, but the uptake is what we have to see. They will have to target institutions, but retail investors are pretty much not going to go for anything on the equity side. So they're targeting your fund managers, your pension funds, who really are looking for, they have liquidity, they need to find where to put the funds.
All right, and then lastly, I mean, obviously the banks, we've seen some good results coming out of the banks, and we're seeing a lot of action also on the ICT side, not listed stocks, for instance, but hearing things like South Africa's Altech in talks with Symphony, Business Connection wants to buy the IT departments of companies. What are we likely to see happening on the ICT front in Kenya?
There will be a lot of mergers and acquisitions going place, and people trying to consolidate. There is a lot of room in the Kenyan market to expand. There's a lot of room for people to actually be able to set up new shop or acquire already existing shops that need capital and grow with them. But internet penetration or even usage of IT in the country is still so low. So you'll find a lot of companies that are moneyed up coming into the market, which now in turn affects your listed companies, your Access Kenya in terms of competition, and also Safaricom's strategy of trying to move from voice to data.